So based on that, a strong final no is just as good as a strong final yes.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, it's the second best possible outcome. But it's better than a maybe or a think it over or a ghosting. And part of the problem is that most of us are afraid to go for the no. Most of us are afraid to hear no. Some of the worst advice I ever received was from my first sales trainer, a lovely guy called Nick Nicholson, we used to selling concrete to Cemex and people like that, or on their behalf. He taught me some really bad things. And it wasn't out of badness, it was just the culture. The first thing he said was always spend more than you earn so you stay hungry. That was terrible advice. You can imagine for why, because I'm 55 and got nowhere near the pension provision I should. Yeah? So don't follow that advice. Fucking awful. Bad. Okay? Save. Deliberately save and have at least 3 pots of money. One, you save up until you could survive 3 months without a paycheck, which wipes out 98% of all salespeople, because most of them are still paying off a jar of Nescafe they paid on their credit card in 1986 from Safeway, which doesn't exist anymore. So, 36,000% interest they've paid by now on that jar of Nescafe because they didn't have a pot to piss in at the time and they paid it on a credit card instead of cash or debit. So that's the first bad bit of advice. And the second was don't ask closed questions. Closed questions are fabulous. They're directional. They help you get to a yes or a no, forward or stop. But the problem is that most people who teach you that piss advice don't understand how to respond when someone gives you a no. I love a no. 80% of my income comes after someone has told me no. So I want a no as quickly as humanly possible. I want to get that out of the way.
Our whole process is built around that. There's a lot more. I'm sure you've read Chris Voss's book before, haven't you? But there's that thing around the safety in no. Forcing someone into a yes starts to get you back up, but that safety and room to say no, you have a lot more of an authentic conversation.
Well, we have a tendency to be fixated on the stuff that's top of mind. But if top of mind is doing our meeting target or hitting a revenue number, where's the customer? Because they're not even in sight, let alone in mind. And they're just a forgotten afterthought. Well, that's not how people really buy. I mean, you're all buyers. You bought shit. Okay? When a salesperson is trying to dip their hand in your pocket, do you think they're a bit of a twat? Right. Well, why do you think any of your buyers would behave or believe or think or feel any differently? Okay? So we've got to stop thinking about us and we've got to start thinking as our buyer.
Yeah.
You need to understand their journey. They're not all the buyers. I mean, if you sell to enterprise, chances are there is a buying committee of somewhere between 6 and 16 people, averaging in this market probably around 11 or 12. And some of them are influencers, some of them are recommenders, specifiers, technical buyers, user buyers, mobilizers, champions. There'll be financial buyers. There'll be final authority. Now, if I were to ask almost any salesperson who fulfills those role functions in the buyer's buying process, almost none of them could give me an accurate answer because they wouldn't have thought about it or asked. But from the buyer's perspective, that's kind of important. Their agenda. What is the job they are all trying to get done, that they're all working towards? What job do they all serve, and what is their individual role in executing that job? Where are they in their buying journey? Are they making space because they've realized there's a problem? Are they passively looking, trying to learn how? Are they actively looking where they're working out what their options are? Are they deciding where they're making trade-offs? Do we have 5 bedrooms or 4? Do we need a second bathroom? All that kind of stuff. How big does the garden have to be? Can we do without that view? Yeah? That's how people really decide. They decide what they're going to do without from all the other stuff. And what's left is what they keep. Then first use. Does their expectation match the reality? Because if not, all of those frustrations and anticipated buyer's remorse that were holding them back and causing them to ghost you and not respond have now come to reality. And the brain's default setting, whenever there's uncertainty or ambiguity, is worst case scenario. Oh, the sky's falling on my head. Yeah? And then there's ongoing use. This is where you form habit. This is where you expand accounts. This is where the real money is. But everyone's focused on top end, top of funnel, new business. Do you know that you make 64 times more profit? 64 times more profit from an expansion customer than you do from a new customer.
64 times?
Yeah, and Banksas did a study in 2019. Average for new business was 18% gross margin. For upsell, 170% gross margin. For retention and expansion sales, 1,150%. You pick.
Wow.
Don't know about you, but I'm intelligently lazy. Karl von Clausewitz would hire Prussian officers for being intelligently lazy. Minimum effort, minimum loss of life. I hire salespeople for the same thing. I want them to think, how can we do less but better on purpose?